And just to give you some idea of what my eyesight can be like, I was walking along the road and thinking to myself, oh, I guess this guy's waiting for a lift, somebody to come and... Oh, hang on a minute. It's a cardboard cutout. Yeah, it's not actually somebody waiting for his wife to bring the car round because they bought a new mattress. Stupid me, eh? I'm not working part-time here in Ternopil as a realtor or an estate agent, but that's a nice looking old property, isn't it? With character and some lovely aged gates. A nice archway round to the back garden. I'm tempted to go and look, but probably shouldn't, so I won't. There's a number if you want to call to make further inquiries. Maybe I should start working selling real estate. Ooh. Funny thing was, of course, I'm sure you know what I'm going to say. It was the wrought iron fence posting that really took my eye. And then I saw a super looking house behind. In fact, it's all for sale. Quiet side street, not far from the hostel, not far from the centre. Well, it really is literally a stone's throw from the central theatre square, the train station. Hello, what's been going on here? And you're really close to this big chimney thing. You don't often see that, do you? I guess it's now become so dangerous you shouldn't go underneath. Just avoid that pavement altogether. And I don't wish to intrude on a photo shoot, but again, a stone's throw from that nice old building. Here's another nice old building. I don't know what it is or what it's doing here, but this piece of classical architecture just in a little side street round the corner from the hostel, surrounded by a lot of less attractive buildings. And again, so close to the hostel, if you do feel like stepping into somewhere which offers street food but looks as though it's kind of a burger joint but a little bit more upscale, the proximity to the hostel and that other nice looking building there, well, why not treat yourself? Mind you, I think I'll still be keeping my food in the fridge in the hostel, hoping it's still there when I want to go and eat it. Welcome from Ternopil, walkie-talkie traveller channel, going across the other side of the tracks. And it's possibly a place which, if you're a tourist, you wouldn't think about coming, because there's so much, very much in that little compact centre of the city. If you're only here for a day or three, there may be enough there to keep you fully occupied or enchanted. But come over here and you get to see things like this. Isn't that a lovely well? Of course it is. Would you want one in your own garden? Of course you would. Okay, there are old, quirky looking but fully functioning wells wherever you might turn your attention. But the main attraction of coming over the tracks here in Ternopil is to see Crow Park, or Old Park, Starypark. The one I mentioned when I was walking around the cemetery the other day. Locals aren't too happy because of the large number of crows who actually live in this park. So I thought I'd come across to see the park itself. What statues, monuments, memorials, artworks, sculptures, fountains, any decorative art really, which may be on view. can see already I'm not going to be disappointed. I hope you won't be either. This is what I'm going to take away from my trip to Ternopil. Everything is so close. And there's a rather surprising amount of things to see. Isn't that one heck of a girt memorial? Let's get closer. You know you want to. Unfortunately, because I don't have that gorilla tripod thing anymore. Yes. Broken and a thing of the past now. I can't very readily balance my phone anywhere to then take pictures of myself alongside almost jaw-dropping statues like this. Mother and children, what does that mean? It means father's away at the war. And that's the way it's been in Ukraine for generations and generations and generations, sadly. Huge memorial site. She's a whopper anyways. War. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Let's walk on, shall we? I'm not entirely sure how much there is to see or do in this park. I had a look with Google Maps, a cursory look, and it didn't appear as though there was a huge amount. Is it Anatoly Pavlovich Zhivov? Probably names well known to Ukrainian folks, wartime historians. But for the likes of me and most of thee, I imagine, we've never heard these people's names before. It would be just confirmation that he was also a soldier, and a very young one, only 19 years old. And on the other side of the park we have a small cemetery area. I wasn't expecting any of this. You see, you can try and use Google Maps to sketch out a plan for where you're going to walk the next day. But you can't be actually getting off your bum and going and walking over to see the site for yourself. The names of dozens of people are written on those individual slabs. Some, of course, may not even actually be buried underneath the slab, but nonetheless the names are remembered. And somewhere again, if you have a Ukrainian connection and a connection to somebody in your family who may have fallen during the Second World War, might be somewhere you wanted to come and pay your respects, or just try and get some kind of feeling of the place, gain an impression of the atmosphere which you can take away with you. Of course, you don't need to be related to people such as Alexander Petrovich Maximenko, another very young man who died in 1944, in order to be affected. As it's called, Old Park, Starypark. I'm guessing this is the very first park in the city. City itself, of course, not as old as some others. There were obviously people living here for thousands of years. But as an actual city, I think we touched on this before, that began only about 500 years ago with the first fortification. well, I should say the first fortification which is actually documented, because no doubt archaeologists may well yet uncover traces of wooden fortifications which haven't been mentioned in documents, which are now gathering dust in libraries when they're not being scrutinised by historians. Yes, Slava Heroim, glory to the heroes. But here, as elsewhere in Ukraine, we know they don't do steps very well. It's not their thing, not their speciality. So I will be very careful where I'm putting my toes. It's a little bit warm. Supposed to have had a bit of cooler weather and also some rain, but that just didn't materialise. Who knows what's going on now, and who can say what season you're in with global warming. Well, this has been left rather sadly, hasn't it? Perhaps people just wanted to forget about the horrors of war and hope it never came to return to the country, but sadly that hasn't been the case, has it? This no doubt was where the eternal flame used to flicker, but it's been let to die down. And what's around the back here? Probably absolutely nothing, but again, it's not going to do you any harm to walk around just to double check, is it? And who knows, you might get a welcome surprise. I was thinking of having a little shave today. What I discovered was, well, I discovered a few things in the bathroom I didn't want to discover. I think we know how that can be in a hostel, don't we? In my own room, I've already told you, 5 electric sockets, all down near the floor level. This sort of, that's something I associate more with England than Ukraine, but anyway. Only one of them works, and I didn't really feel like sitting on the floor shaving, or kneeling or lying on the floor shaving. So I went with my electric shaver to the open, narrow bathroom area, and there are just 2 points covering 3 sinks, 2 power points. So you can plug in your electric shaver or whatever electrical device you wanted to plug in there, maybe hair curling, I don't know. But what would happen is the one socket wouldn't work, and it is dangerously close to where the actual water is. It's only just above the actual sink, right next to the twiddly, what do you call it, faucet. And again, I found myself laughing because the other one is actually positioned directly behind the faucet. So yeah, if the socket works, you may or may not be able to fit your plug into the socket, depending on how large your plug is. And even if you find, yep, this is going according to plan, you may give yourself an electric shock because of the proximity to the water. Of course, the sockets aren't protected, even, not that that would help once you raise the plastic cover and plugged in. So, yeah, could be frying tonight. Did a little bit of trim with the scissors because I'm sort of healed. I don't know if you want to see the scar. Don't know if you can see the scar. But yeah, I'm not going to shave there just yet. It still feels a little bit as though it's tender. Not painful to touch. It's odd. It didn't hurt when it happened, even though it was quite a significant cut. And it didn't hurt that night or the next day, the way sometimes these things can do. But I've had just a couple of times, and the early hours of this morning was one of them, when, like weeks later, I just got a sharp pain right here. It wasn't anything else, it was right here. Just a stinging sharp pain for a few fractions of a second, with small gaps of a few seconds. So almost like a little pulsing pain. Makes no sense whatsoever, does it? And then that got me thinking, why is it that when we have old wounds, old injuries which have healed, for some reason, just randomly out of the blue, they can suddenly make some sort of noticeable pain in our nervous system. We detect this sudden pain and we don't know why. Strange. If you're a neurologist, do feel free to comment and let me know why it is that sudden, significant but brief pains can return to an area that's been injured previously for no apparent reason. They just happen. A wooden church. It doesn't look very old, does it? But it's still interesting. And maybe it's just much damaged and it's on the site of a much older church which has been partially replaced. I can't say, I don't know the history of it. Looks as though there's some ongoing works going on around the back there, so I won't be taking in the view from that point, but I think this is one of the best viewing opportunities anyway. Transcarpathian style in wood. I think that's what the architecture would perhaps be described as. And Hram, temple, but clearly 2008, so a very modern build. No reference or photographs that I can see pertaining to an earlier building. Oh well, can't have everything, can we? At least we've got a modern version of a very old traditional style of church building in western Ukraine and across that Carpathian mountain area, the old Galicia region. Specifically 1941, 1945, with, I did notice, not sure if the video picked it up, there are some very small, understated burials behind. Where am I going now? I think I know, but I don't want to give too much away of what's coming up. And if I was a useful videographer, I'd be able to say, but I suppose I could give you a little advanced flavour with a what's coming up collage of pictures or video snippets. But I think we both know I'm not really that very good with doing the video editing side of things, am I? So, yes. All in good time, all in good time. Right, now I'm approaching the rail tracks again, so really, you know, I should be turning this off. So, that's what I'll do.